welcome. So we're going to do a workshop. So the good news is we're going to do a workshop. You're going to leave here with the plugin, the images, there's no tables. You got to code on your lap. Or you don't have to code at all, because I'll give you the GitHub repo where you can get the plugin and play with it yourself. So if you're not here to code or learn to code or learn to write a plugin, then this is probably not the right meetup for you. Besides these two, did anyone else come to my workshop at WordCamp in New York City? All right, good. All right, because this is pretty much that presentation. All right, so my name is Bruner. You can find me at my company, which is Flipfire, or my personal blog, which is ask.bruner.me. And we're building the first plugin. All right. Anyone here? Actually, did anyone here have built a plugin? Okay, that's great. Anyone here edit the functions.php file on the theme? Okay, great. So that code is in there. All that stuff could be put in a plugin. And really, the difference between a plugin and putting code in a plugin or a functions.php file is that the code that goes in your theme should be theme specific. The stuff that goes in your plugin should be more generic. So if you choose to change your theme down the road, you won't lose some of those changes. So for instance, I'll give you a good example. Short codes are a great example. If you create a custom short code, the thing that you put in square brackets in your content and something magical happens, and you create that short code in your theme, and you use it for a couple of years in your content, and then you switch themes, all that it's going away. When someone goes to visit your site, you're going to have these brackets instead of the short code content. Put in a plugin, then you can switch themes, and you're free to do that. So when you start adding code, and you start adding something to your site, think, is it specific to this theme, or is it something that if I want to switch a theme, is it something I may want to switch out? So, like I said, I have a WordPress development company called Flipfire. I have another company that makes no money called Picklist. We built a plugin that's pretty awesome. I organized this. I did some WordCamp stuff, and I've been building plugins for a while. Some that work, some that don't work. So these are the prerequisites. We should have if you have a WordPress website on your local, that'd be great. If you have a code editor, that'd be even better. I don't know if we're going to need a few test posts or images, but if we do, there's a great plugin called FakerPress. With a few clicks, it loads some fake data onto your site. It posts images, users, taxonomies. It's very cool. It works very well when you're developing some new stuff. So what is a plugin, right? So a plugin allows you to modify, customize, or enhance WordPress. You never want to change the core code of WordPress. You never want to change it. You want to look at it. You want to look at it a lot, right? If you're developing, you want to open up WordPress and you want to get in there and you want to find out what things are doing. You never want to modify it. And WordPress is packed with hooks and filters, which allow you to modify WordPress without touching the core code. We'll go over that. And plugins interact with WordPress and your theme, and actually with other plugins. That's the other thing I have to put in there. So plugins can interact with other plugins, WordPress, or your theme. So how do they do that? Hooks, action hooks, and filters. WordPress is packed with them. I think there's thousands of them. Good themes, put them in there. Very high-end plugins, put them in there. WooCommerce has tons of them. So you should be able to find those hooks, find those filters, and be able to modify content. Another thing, if you happen to come across a place on WordPress or a plugin where you think a hook or a filter belongs, and we'll go over what they are, usually those are the easiest things to get into WordPress core or get into a plugin. I've made suggestions with other plugin developers that would think this filter would be great here, and they put it in, because all it adds is flexibility to their code. So what does it do? Okay, so what's an action hook? An action hook is a piece of code that's triggered at a specific time in WordPress. And we'll go through that. And they're all over WordPress. You would see them, they call do actions. And essentially, imagine a place in your theme or your plugin where a piece of code says a do action, and you can attach things to it. You can attach as many things as you want to it. And when that piece of code runs, all those other things run through. One of the most popular ones is WP head. So if you look at a theme, let's open up 2017, and the header, and right here, I got this cool zoom thing, is a WordPress function called WP_head. This should appear in your theme. It should appear in every theme. If it's not in your theme, put it in your theme. If you bought a theme that doesn't have this, ask for a refund. It should appear in there. This is the magic where things happen. So let's take an example. Let's go through. Let me show you really quick, right? Everything that's in the head. This is everything that's in the header file. There's nothing here, right? There's 3 lines, right? There's 3 lines. Meta, another meta, a relational link, and WP head. But if we go to the front of the site, we view the front of the page. This is the site. Let's view the source. And now we look in the head. It's a lot more stuff that showed up. Here it is, the meta, the link, but there's a script, the title, WordPress, other links have shown up. All this JavaScript magically shows up. Emoji stuff that WordPress likes to shove in there has showed up. All this has shown up. The CSS files, the dash icons, and other things have shown up. A Google font has shown up. How those all show up? Because the theme attached to WP head. WordPress itself attaches to WP head. It adds things in there that you need. That's the best way to do it. So you're not cluttering your file, you're doing it that way. So does that make sense, everyone? By putting one little function there, you can attach as many things as you want to it. And it makes things easy. Plugins expect WP head to be there. Okay? WordPress expects WP head to be there. And that's one of the tons of action hooks that are there. There's also another one in the footer called WP footer. So if you see CSS loading in your footer, JavaScript loading in your footer, it's usually attached. It should be attached to WP footer. And that is an example of an action hook. Okay? Does that make sense? Cool. All right, so let's just take a look real quick. Here's WordPress. All right, no plugins installed. So if I search WordPress for do action, because we said that do actions mean that that there's a hook there. There's 881 hooks in WordPress. 881. It's a lot. You do a lot of things there. Okay. That's only half the battle, right? The other fun thing is filters. Filters are a little bit hard to understand, but what filters do, it allows you to take in something, modify it any way you want, and give it back to WordPress, and WordPress doesn't know that you modified it. So a really good example is share icons that when you activate a plugin, and share icons magically appear underneath your story content. Right? How'd that happen? How they magically appear there? Because what they probably did is they took the content from WordPress, they take it from the database, and when WordPress pulls it in, they have a filter that says, give me the content, put my share icons at the bottom of the content, and give it back to WordPress. And WordPress doesn't care, because you're supposed to be able to modify that stuff. And that's exactly what a filter does. And the most popular filter is probably the content, which is what you modify. And anytime in WordPress or a plugin you see apply filters, that is a filter that you would see. And really popular ones are, hold on here, the content, the excerpt, the title, body classes, all these things are really popular. And again, if we go here and we search for apply filters, oh, you gotta spell it right. There's 1,767 filters in WordPress. Okay? This is the reason you never have to touch core WordPress. Actions, then filters. That's how plugins interact with WordPress. That's how plugins interact with each other. That's how plugins interact with your theme. Your theme interacts with your plugins through hooks and filters. Okay? If they didn't exist, it would be a big mess. All right? It's an important concept to understand, because without this, you can't write a plugin. That's the only way plugins can talk to WordPress or your theme, through hooks and filters. Okay? All right. Let's write some stuff. I think. Let's check my presentation. So what does the filter do? It takes data, it applies the filters, and it changes the data. And then there's an anatomy of a plugin, and I'll go through this with you. There's header, there's README files, language files, all sorts of things. We're going to write some very basic plugins today that definitely has some useful code in it that you can use and use in your own project. We're not going to do the whole README file and stuff as well, but we're going to write some code. So the first thing is the file header. All you need is something that looks like this at the top of a file, and you have yourself a plugin. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. So the code, it's in the WordPress codex. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go here. I'm going to close this stuff. Close this stuff. All right, I have no plugins installed on my site. I guess before I go forward, does everyone understand hooks and filters? Is everyone cool with that? Because without that, you don't have everything, right? So look, nothing on my sleeve, no plugins. Okay, we're good to go. All right, so WP content, plugins. We're going to call this WP setup. Just the name I came up with. I'm naming a folder, WP setup. In that folder, I'm going to name a file. It's probably good practice to name it the same thing, .php. I'm going to paste what I just copied from .org. I'm going to name it WordPress setup. It's probably just a good plugin. The initial intention of this plugin was that you would install it initially on your client's website and give you some things that you can play with. Stuff. Great version. I'm going to get rid of this. We don't need this right now. I think it'll let me work. And I'm going to get this stuff away right now. That's good stuff to have, and you probably need that for WordPress. What?
It's a little hard to see the.
It's hard to see.
The contrast there.
Oh, the contrast is. Oh my God, that is really bad. Can you see that? Oh, great. That's why. So I'm sorry. This is the plugin name, but you're going to see it really quick. I'm just going to show it to you right now. I'm sorry.
Did you want us to follow along, or are you just showing us now?
You can follow along if you want, or I can show you. But there you go. That's the plugin just showed up.
Okay.
Okay. So all I did is I created a folder, I created a file, and I put this comment block at the top of it, something like it, and now you have a plugin. That's it. Now you just stop putting code in there, you got yourself a plugin.
So you created a folder within the plugins folder?
Yep.
Okay. A subfolder within the plugins folder.
Plugins folder, subfolder called WP setup. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't put the file's not in the right. It's not in the. I didn't create a folder. Sorry about that. New folder. Do I have a folder there? Something looks.
Create a file, not a folder.
I'm following a folder. Oh, okay, okay. Sorry. I made a file, not a folder. But yes, you should make a folder and have a file in the folder. Now this will deactivate, or won't deactivate, right? And that's it. Now I just activate it, and boom, we have a plugin. Okay. I'm also going to tell you where this code is going to be. So in case you want to really follow on the GitHub, this is a plugin I'm going to be referencing. GitHub.com/sbruner, which is me, and then WP_setup. The code is there. I learned from my last presentation, the code should be there before the presentation. Okay. So yeah, if you want to follow along, that's fine. You can do that, or you can just watch. That's fine too. The idea is that you should leave with a plugin that you can use, but you can definitely just download this plugin from GitHub and screw around with it, play with it, and modify it, and take out what you need. All right, so let's do some easy things here first. So again, we talked about how things get attached to WP head. Well, one of the things that gets attached, which some people say may be a security issue or not, is a WordPress version. Okay? WordPress likes to put it there. It allows WordPress.org to track how many WordPresses are out there and what versions are out there. Some people think it's a security issue because now it's telling you, if you're running an old version of WordPress, it's probably not a good idea. If you're running an insecure version of WordPress, it's probably not a good idea. So how does this get here? It gets there because WordPress itself attaches to WP head with a hook. And the hook is called, it uses WP head, and it's called WP generator. That's the function that WordPress, like that really looks, you can at least read that, right? Okay, so if I went into, if I search for WordPress for WP generator, for instance, let's just go through that really quick. Function WP generator, default, this is what we're looking at. This is WordPress I just pulled up. In WordPress, there's an action called WP head that pulls the function WP generator. And WP generator is the thing, WP generator is the thing that, well, this is all the code for it, but is what shows the WordPress version. We're just going to remove that. And it's really easy. Instead of the opposite of add action, which is what WordPress did, we're going to remove action. Remove action, WP head, WP generator. Just going to save this. Go back to the source. That was line 40, and now it's gone.
Can make it bigger, Terry.
I can't. No, there you go. And that disappeared. Did everyone see it disappear? No. Okay, we'll bring it back. So here's our, there it is right there. Line 40, line 48. Just by putting this one line in, I'm removing the action. I just happen to know it's there, I Googled it, or I went through WordPress, and now it's gone. Okay? But one line does that. WordPress attached to it, I told WordPress I want to remove it. It's fine.
So now you made that into a plugin?
It's in a plugin, it's already in the plugin, yeah? It's in my plugin file. Okay? Who here uses Windows Live Writer? Yeah, exactly, who? Well, WordPress has this file right here, which is probably more legacy than anything else, that is for Windows Live Writer. WLW manifest, whatever you want. Okay, WordPress attaches to it. Let's get rid of it. We're going to take this action here. I'm just going back and forth from the GitHub repo to this, so I'm going piece by piece. I'm returning, putting it here. Again, I'm removing the action, and then we go back to the front. We go to the front of the site, and it's gone. Okay. And you go through that file that I brought up before. I mean, the default filters. Where is that filter? Sorry. These are all the things right here. These are all the things that WordPress attaches to your website every time you install.
Where is that in the core?
It's in core.
I know, where?
Default filters.php. Just search for WP head or any of these. By default, WordPress attaches all of these. You want to remove one? What do? Remove action. WordPress add action, you remove action. Okay? All right, let's actually build something that will be sort of fun. So there's a hidden menu in WordPress. I'm guessing you don't know it's there. It is called admin / options.php. And there it is. The hidden menu that has a ton of settings in WordPress. And the reason it's hidden is because if you screw it with any of these settings, you can mess up your website.
Where is it?
Options.php. Don't worry, we're going to make it easy for you because your plugin is going to make it easy for you. Okay? But there it is, a page of options that no one knew it existed. So we're going to add it. We're going to add a page right here under the settings menu. So when you install this plugin on someone's site, you can see it and you'll have it there. So there's again, there's a function called, is that better? Yeah. There's an action called admin menu, and when you attach the admin menu, that's where you can add some subpages and things like that. And I wrote a function called WP setup _ all options menu, just a function that I wrote.
So the first thing is the name of what it's working on, and the second thing is the name of the function you're creating?
Yep.
Okay.
Right, you want to, you're attaching, where you're attaching to, what hook you're attaching
Is the first
to,
one.
is the first one, and then what the function is.
So then the second one is like a callback or a call.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
It's a call.
Yeah. So here's the function that I'm writing. And here's this. So actually, before we do that, something else I put at the very bottom of this. This is a helper function. This is common in coding. A function is that helps you do something. Now I'm going to show you what this does. This lets you output information easy and find it when you don't think you need it. I just put it at the bottom of this file. It's at the bottom of this, at the bottom of the GitHub file, and you'll see it. And you just have to call WP _setup _ free. So I want to add to the submenu. Just so you know, so WordPress has things called globals. I just want to take a step back. I know a lot of this may be deep into WordPress. That's why the code is out there. Really, it's just to show you ideas and things you can do, and we can play around with it. If you do this on your local, you're not going to break anything. Who cares? Okay? Especially with your code, you can play around with it. So PHP, there are things that are called globals. They hold lots of content. WordPress has one called $submenu. If I use my helper function here, I'm just going to put it right here, for instance, and then put submenu. I'm just going to comment this out. We can see what's in the submenu. There it is. I'm going to view this. Oh, sorry. View the page source. This output that's nice and neat is what the helper function did. Without the helper function,
you just added inside the other function.
inside the plugin, the bottom of the plugin, I just added it. Yeah, so this is the helper function, and I called it in here. It's the helper function to help me wrap things in pre-tags. Okay, so this is what WordPress gets when it's looking through the menus. This is the information that WordPress gets. Okay, the page, who can read the page, the capabilities, is anybody, and the URL. So you go down to the options area. Options general. Only users that can actually manage options, which are usually administrators, can view this stuff. It's an array. But this is what WordPress uses to generate the menus that you see. Okay, so we're just going to manipulate that, and I'm going to manipulate it here. So if I look at this, right, each array, each item takes 3 pieces: the name of the menu, who can look at it, and the page. So I'm going to stick it in the options general array, because we want to go to settings, and I'm going to call it all options. And then I'm just going to go here, and under settings, at the very bottom is all options. Everyone see that? Down here? So now when you activate your plugin, you now have a link to this. Make sense? Sort of makes sense. I think the important part is you're hooking to something, and you're getting that. How you do all the other stuff is great. It's a little bit advanced. There's one issue with this. The issue is that anybody can see this page now, and you really don't want that. Anybody who has clients or mother-in-law knows that they really shouldn't look at that page. So what do? WordPress has roles and capabilities. We're just going to wrap it in something called if current user can. This is a WordPress function, standard WordPress function, if current user can. And you just pass the capability. WordPress has roles and capabilities of what you want. So you're saying if someone can manage options, they should see that. It really means an administrator. And now if I did that again, nothing should change because I'm an administrator. If I added a new user, do I have another user here? Yeah, anyone hear of a plugin called user switching? It's very cool. I'm going to install it really quick. It allows you to switch users. Yeah. User switching. So it allows you, it's really good as a developer, it's really good to clients. You can log in as somebody else and see what they're seeing in case you have an issue. And when you're doing things like this, you really want, which is essentially could become a security issue, you want to make sure that you're doing it right. Right? So settings, all options. I can see that. I'm going to switch to an editor. I already put an editor role here. And now it's not there anymore. The whole settings thing is gone. So I'm really happy about that. Okay? So it works. All right, so that's what we have so far. We have one function, and the action's doing it. Any questions so far? Is anyone like so confused or like, I'm gonna go drinking after this? All right. All right, so let's try something else. Here's one that one of my favorites. It's getting rid of the word howdy at the top of WordPress. I know it's like part of WordPress, it's been there forever, but there are like some sites or some clients that look at it and go, seriously, like this is what you have, it says howdy. So let's get rid of that. So there's a filter for that. We're going to filter it. Okay, so WordPress has that content. We're going to take that content. We're going to take the default word howdy, and we're going to use a standard PHP function to change it to whatever we want it to change it to. So I'm going to write a function called WP setup change howdy. I'm just going to write that. It's always good to namespace your functions with something. If I just called it change howdy, some other plugin can call it change howdy, and it's a problem. So you always try to, prefix your function with something that's unique, or hopefully unique, to your site. So this is the code to do it. And listen, I didn't write all this code myself. I Googled a lot of it. I looked in WordPress. I didn't just go, oh yeah, there's a get node called my account, and I figured it out. No, I didn't do that. So don't think that Google's your best friend. WordPress itself is your best friend. Again, I want to use the helper function just to take a look at the data that WordPress is passing, because WordPress is passing data here. I just want to see what it looks like. It's always good to see the data before you modify it, right? So you know what it looks like. So let's go here with view source. Where is it? Oh, yeah, good. Reset up my account. Oh, there's a filter, is that what that's doing? Sends anything. So something. That is odd. Well, I know what the filter, I know what it does.
Does it need a semicolon after the last phrase?
No. Recommendation is never to do a live presentation. Yeah.
Did you set this up in a child theme?
Nope, it's a plugin. You could set this up in a child theme, but then you would lose, but like I said, then you would lose. So everything I'm doing here, I think, is portable, right? You can use it with any theme. Nothing I'm doing here should be theme specific. It isn't theme specific. Changing howdy, for instance. So
You do this in the editor, right?
yeah, I'm doing it in the WordPress. Oh, I have an error here somewhere. Doing it in the WordPress editor, yes.
If I get messages and I want to edit it.
Well, I wouldn't do it in the error. I wouldn't do it in the error. Just 1 second, please. Call to member function. Why is that doing that? Oh, I didn't pass it. I know why it didn't work. Anyway, all of it didn't work. I'm not doing this in the editor in WordPress. This is my custom editor, but in WordPress you can have it. So there was one small error. When you're editing, when you're using a WordPress filter, to get the stuff that you're trying to filter, and I forgot to put it right in here, the item, so nothing worked. So again, now if we went and we got that helper function, and we took a look at what this looks like. Okay, so you have to find it, and one of the things that's great about this helper function is that it wraps things in a pre-tag, which is a standard HTML tag, and then you can just search for it. And this is the data that WordPress is passing. Again, this is an object, put like sort of an array format. Almost like tons of stuff in WordPress is in this format. So as you can see, it's all there. And you can see right there is our target for destruction is the word howdy and the title. So I'm using a standard PHP function called string replace. It takes 3 parameters. Okay, what you're looking for, what you want to replace it with, and where's it getting the data. And I'm just going to replace howdy with hi. And that says high speed. Okay, again, this should work in any theme, right? There's no reason to put this in a functions.php file. This is something that should be in any theme.
So
Yeah.
themes and plugins can access all the same stuff. There's no same.
A functions.php file and a plugin is very similar. They're very, very, very similar. Things that are in theme template files are a little bit different. Single.php, archive.php. So. But yeah, functions.php, in most cases, you can copy everything out of functions.php and make a plugin out of it. Okay? Making sense? A little bit? Sort of? We're just filtering. What we're doing is like hooking the stuff and filtering stuff. That's really it. All right, let's try something else that I have here. This one probably a little bit more advanced. Here, let's do this one. So the footer, who here deals with clients? Client websites. Okay, great. How do you go? So I'm going to try to. This is a very basic, very, very basic way of allowing them to write an email to you from within WordPress. So they're not calling you or texting. All right, so this is a filter. And where I'm going to put this, I'm going to show you. The admin footer text is what I'm filtering. And the admin filter text is this thing right down here that says, thank you for creating a WordPress. That's filterable too. Almost everything in WordPress has a hook or filter. Like, it's really major. You can change this. Thank you for creating with CPress. Thank you for creating with whatever you want. Drupal, but that would be confusing. So we're gonna filter that. So one thing, I overcopied, which means I overpasted. So I'm filtering the footer text, and again, I'm just going to do this one last time, and then we don't have to keep going through this. But a good way, if you just want to see that data, make sure what you're actually filtering. Make sure it's the right thing, so you know that you're getting the right stuff, right? Great, there it is. So here's the opening pre-statement, here's the closing pre-statement, this is it. It's a span tag that says footer thank you for creating, hyperlink, WordPress.org, WordPress, and span tag. Okay, WordPress is passing that. I can remove that whole thing, I can change it, do whatever I want with it. WordPress is allowing me to do that, change the core code. So what I'm going to do is we're going to actually, I'm going to change this 1 second. I'm going to use the name of my company. Okay, so I'm string replacing. I'm changing that this last piece right here, the closing AH right there. I'm going to take that and I'm going to replace this with this whole thing. And hopefully that should work. Again, it's a live presentation. And there it is. All right, so I have something down here. Does everyone sort of see that? Okay. Obviously, that's not what I talked about. It's not a link, so let's do that. We created a helper function. A lot of times, most time in code, you want to create functions for things so you can use them over and over again. So I created a function called WP support text to make this easy. Now this is, it looks really complicated on the page. So this is like standard HTML, believe it or not. It's a mount-to tag. And it's probably, you've probably seen it everywhere on websites, right? You click on a mount-to tab, all of a sudden your email pops open, and boom, things are magically filled out. So I just kind of broke this out here. The email is support at whatever your domain is. The subject is support request, and this is a WordPress function called home URL. So WordPress is going to pass me the URL of the website that it's on and put it in the subject of my email, right? So I know where it's coming from. And then the body, I thought this was really helpful, the page that the request was made from. How many times did you client say, like, I'm editing gobbledygook and it's not working? You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, a lot of times, it's really helpful to get a URL from the page that they were having the problem on. And then this is just some opening and closing href statements. And then I just return it. This is standard PHP. I'm returning the data. I'm not echoing it out. I'm passing it along passively, and then the function can do what they want to do. So I put that right here. This is the function calling this, right? So this is my function that's filtering, and I have a helper function to do this. And then I go here, and now this manage my subfire, which is a link to my site, but also email for support. And then I click on it, it opens Gmail. Of course, I got to log in. Oh man, it was going so well until I had to log in. Let's see if I can do this without giving away any of my secrets on video. Oh, is it? And you know what? I also have two-step on here too, so that's going to be fun.
Oh my God.
There we go. Just the magic of live presentation. I will never let you just take my word for it. You need to see it. You need to see it. You need to see it to believe it. Hopefully my daughter didn't do anything embarrassing. And there it is. Support in my domain, support request from the URL, and a request made from here. And now they can actually send you an email, and it has some useful data with it as well. Okay? Really easy, somewhat useful, really, really basic. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if you put a form in there. You could actually put a form in the admin, and then it collected all this information and sent it to you. That's more advanced. I'm not going to go through fields today. Okay. So that's one thing I want to talk about. I'm not going through. We're not creating any fields today. Creating fields is another beast in WordPress. It's a lot of code to create a field. You need to save it properly, sanitize it, validate it. We're not doing that. Everything I'm doing is really passive. You activate the plugin, and magic just happens. Okay. If this is somewhat interesting to you, then I'm happy to come back or have somebody else present creating fields and doing things like that. So the reason I created the function for this, like, why would you create a function? Well, first of all, creating a function sort of made it a little bit neater, right? And jamming all this stuff into here. I thought it just looked neater. But now I have access to this data. I could do something else with it. Where else would be a good place to have a client get help? A dashboard widget, I thought. Does anyone else agree with me? I don't know. And dashboard widgets are actions called the WP dashboard setup. And this is like easy stuff. Like you just go into, I mean, not easy, but you can go to WordPress and you can search, or Google, you can search for WP dashboard widget and call it up the WordPress codex. And it just gives you some information, and you can add it in, and it tells you even more things to do. So there's all this data out there. I didn't make any of this up. So the action WP dashboard setup is calling a function that I created. Okay, and that function. Sorry. That function will call another function. It does get a little bit tricky because this action is calling this function, which does this. This function calls another function called add widget. And the reason this is done is because for this function to work, it has to be triggered at the right time in WordPress. And the right time is when WP dashboard setup gets called. So that's another thing about hooks that's really important, is that they go in a specific order. And sometimes when you want to do something, you may not be able to do it because the appropriate hook didn't get called yet. So you may have to check, you may have to change. Maybe you want to go to a hook that's called earlier or a hook that's called later. And you may literally have to go through WordPress code to find the next hook, and call it at the right time. So this is called this function, and then this function calls this function, right? So we have this calling this, which is over here, which calls this, and calls this function over here, which calls this, and then is calling our custom function that we wrote, WP setup support text, which is this. And then we save that, and we go to the dashboard. We now have a support widget that has the exact same information, is down here. It also has the exact same email link. That works now. Okay, so now it's in two places. You wrote the code one time, you just moved it twice. So if you change your company name, you want to change the email, you want to change anything, all you have to do is change in your helper function, and now it's in both places. Yeah?
And now, like, from here, you move on and going and saying, like, upload this plugin to other pages. This is basically the idea of what a plugin is doing, and they're just offering, sort of offering it for other.
No, I think you could use it. If you're developing client sites, I think this is a perfectly fine plugin to install on your client site.
Okay, so basically, you're saying it's fair to use.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to change it, modify it, get rid of my email address, that would really be great. But besides that, I think it's legit, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think it should be done better. I've seen people put forms in there and things like that, but basic, I think it's fine. You've actually set options file, you're changing high, you cleaned up your theme up a bit. Yeah.
I had a couple of questions. First question is this in the WordPress core that you're doing this right now?
You never modify WordPress core.
Okay, so what are we doing with the child theme, or like where are we just doing where?
So I'm not doing much. Did you come in late or?
No.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. I thought it was in the core, and I didn't see you make a child theme, so I'm just trying to figure
This
out.
is a plugin.
Okay.
Not a theme. So
Okay.
themes are the look and feel of your site. Plugins add functionality.
Oh,
So I created a plugin that does things to WordPress and to your theme.
No, I get that part.
Your hooks and filters.
So I'm just saying, you put it in like I think it was like a plugins folder.
Yeah, right here.
And then you made another file that you set up. So you're doing stuff inside there.
Right. Everything I'm doing,
But it's already
plugins, WP setup. All I'm doing is editing this file that I created.
I got you. So where's this that's what I want to ask. Like,
Okay.
where is this? What is it on? Is it on the WordPress core? Is it on the child theme? Like, where have you created this? Because that's a little bit puzzling.
Okay, so this is the thing. WordPress core really consists of 3 folders and some files, right? Okay, so this is WordPress core. I'm gonna give it really 2-second thing so we move on. This entire site right here, if I'm opening and closing, is pretty much all WordPress, right?
Right.
And in the default directory are core WordPress files
Right.
that we don't touch. WP config is the only one we touch because it has things in it. Okay. WordPress has 3 folders in it: WP admin, WP content, and WP includes.
Yes.
All right. This is all in WP content. WP content is fair game. That's the only thing that you should be modifying. It's not really WordPress core. It's a folder that WordPress accesses to find your themes, your plugins, and code.
Okay, so we're basically in WordPress content.
We're in WP content.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the question I had was, once you're in WP content plugins, is this a separate file?
It's a folder and a file. So we install. Here's a perfect
You
example.
lost me at the beginning, like the rest made sense, but just the hierarchy of
Okay.
where you put it.
Well, here, these are plugins, and actually we only have 2 plugins installed here, right? User switching, which I installed from .org, WordPress.org, and the one we did. So if you look at the user switching, it's a folder that has a bunch of, some files in it. And our plugin is a folder with 1 file in it right now. Okay? You can have as many files as you want in there. We're just doing everything in one.
And then my last question was, when you finish, making the plugin, how we pack it up for distribution and send it off?
Well, right now it's on GitHub, so you can download it from GitHub and you can use it.
No, I'm saying like, for instance, like, would we like, add it to like, or submit it to WordPress.org, or like, if you want to like build one?
It'd be a little weird if everybody submitted the same plugin to WordPress.org. I think that'd be a little bit odd.
No, but it's
And-
like in
and-
general, like anything.
In general, I would download, if I was you, I'd go home, go to GitHub, download it from GitHub, which is the URL I gave you.
No, I think you're not understanding. I'm saying, when I make my own, I actually make some crazy
When you have
idea.
your own, you can do two things with it. You can do, actually, you can do a zillion things with it.
Okay.
You can submit it, if you think it's really awesome, you can submit it to WordPress.org
Okay.
and get it up there, and everybody will play with it and hopefully get feedback and people will use it.
Gotcha.
Okay, you can sell it on a plugin thing like Envato, or you can just keep it for yourself and install it on your client site.
Okay, so it'd be simple as just zipping it and talking.
Zipping it up. Yep.
Gotcha. All right,
All right.
So,
Yeah.
all my questions are like best practices, like I'm
Okay.
also seeing a pattern here where you probably wanna do my custom dash plugins for your custom plugins, and then the ones you're downloading from WordPress.com, you'd have in a general reusable direct. Is that a pattern that people do? Cause you're mixing kind of custom code with code that you probably don't wanna touch, like Ninja Forms or whatever you have.
Right. No. I wouldn't. I mean, your plugins are usually in a folder with the plugin name. Like for instance, this plugin is not on WordPress.org, right? So if I go to the plugins area here, it will never have an update button here, right? User switching will, right? When John updates it, I'll be able to update it. Mine, I won't be able to. Now, if you want to, then you can do that with WordPress.org. But best practices are, yeah, you're mixing them. But it's not. I mean, I don't consider it custom. It's still a plugin that's adding functionality to a site.
Are there any like demo plugins that kind of go into more advanced functionality of like laying, just like conceptually, where you can explore all these ideas kind of broken down, including adding fields?
Not that I'm sure there are. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, if everyone's interested, I'm happy to expand this and go to another level. But right now, this yeah.
Yeah, you said you were to make a separate folder. Would they not appear in your backend admin all together? So I did together like your WordPress servers custom user switching was doing that. But if you did setting it in two separate folders, would they not appear here together?
Well, they wouldn't appear here.
Right, exactly.
And then they wouldn't work. But then they wouldn't work.
Well, if you had it in the plugins and then a separate folder for your custom plugins, or the ones from WordPress.org is what you say, right?
I mean, to make that work, you have to add sim links and do things like that. Yes, it gets a little fancy. Yes, you can do stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it needs to be WP content plugins for WordPress to understand it and activate it. If there's another folder with MU plugins, we can just drop stuff in and it works. So if we have time, we can cover that.
What is the MU plugin? Yeah, I saw that. That was.
Yeah, like I talking. That's really just now it stands for must-use plugins. Any code you put in this folder, MU plugins, and by default, your WordPress install probably doesn't have it. You can create it. You got any code you put in there doesn't even show up in the plugins directory. It just works. You drop a PHP file in there, it just runs. So your client will never see it. They can't turn it off. Like if you have some stuff that you need to have in there that your client doesn't want you to, you don't want your client to turn off, you put it there. A lot of hosting companies use it to put their code in there. I know like WP Engine, if you have a WP Engine account, you log into your admin, the WP Engine dashboard shows up at the very top, it goes into the MU plugins. Let's see if there's anything else fun here we can do. I'm going to show you maintenance mode. Here's something that I thought was kind of fun. I did it in my last presentation. I forgot to comment it out, so if anybody had used it, they probably got locked out of their site. So we're gonna change that right now. So you may need to put a site into maintenance mode, for instance. For maybe you're doing some type of migration, maybe you're doing a mass update, and anybody here can do that. And I'll give you a real, for instance, maybe you're deleting a ton of posts, that you're running a big import, whatever that is. A lot of times, if the site gets a lot of traffic, the two don't usually mix, right? So I usually put a client side of my site into what I call maintenance mode. So nobody can see it, nobody can use it, but I can still access it, right? So how are we going to do that? So we're going to use an action called get header. And in case you don't understand that, get header is at the very top of the chain that we talked about in the hooks, right? We want things in the right order. If I'm using get footer, and I want the site to go, it's probably not going to work as well. I want to do it immediately, get header. And here's the code. It's a really simple code. And I missed a. So PHP has a function called die, the die command. WordPress has a function called the WP die. The only difference is with WP die, you can pass a message through. So we're literally going to kill the site for anybody that's not logged in, and we're going to use and it can manage options if current user can. So here, let's take this out. I'll show you what happens. So if you get header, boom. That's the die command, the current part. Okay. So what did I do? I passed the WP die, and I passed a message. Okay. Nobody can get to the site now. I don't think I can get to the site. I can get to the site, but I can't see the front of the site. Okay. So if I put this back, current user can. WordPress lets you do that, right? Now I can view the front of the site. But if you're logged out, you're still getting that message. And now you can do what you gotta do. Do your migration. Run whatever scripts you have to run. All kinds of things like that. I mean, it does, you know, and this isn't just for advanced things. There are search and here's a perfect example. There are search and replace plugins, right? I just had a client. They literally changed the name of one of their packages or classes, I forget exactly what they call it. And they had tens of thousands of posts. And we had to run a search and replace. This isn't something anybody here can do this. There's plenty of search and replace plugins on WordPress.org. I just didn't want to run it while people were viewing the site. I now want to make probably hundreds of database changes, scan data, while people are hitting the site. Just doesn't feel like the right thing to do. Why do that to database? So we put in maintenance mode. So we went back, we ran it, we were done. All we have to do is get rid of it, at least with this plugin, is comment it out, and then the site's live again. Now, the better way to do it is to probably add like a checkbox on your settings page in the back that says maintenance mode, right? We said we're not going to do that. Right? But it's a really simple, easy way to just lock down a site so that you can do some stuff.
Can you do the code?
Yeah. You can get the code on GitHub as well. All it was is WP, where is it? WP die right here. This is a standard WordPress function. You don't have to pay for it, or anything else. Boom, WP die. You can have some more stuff to it, and response code and all that stuff. Yeah.
Is there a website or something where there's a list of useful functions other than going to WordPress.org? Because there's like just a million there.
Right.
And combing through them, most are not even relevant.
What I would probably do, here, like sites like here, like WP snippets or something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
This site has like thousands of things here, right? So you want to disable the JSON REST API. So here are some snippets right here. It's a perfect example. I don't think this belongs in the theme. Because if you want to disable the JSON REST API, you probably want to disable it for everything else, right? So here's the JSON API. Right? Build it to WordPress. We'll copy this code. We'll add it to our plugin. This is really simple. It's just a filter right here. 2 filters that are returning false. And I guess this is going to not work now. It does work. I think you need to save. I think that it's cached. So you need to save a post or something. I think when you save it, it breaks the cache. Again, live presentation, adding in code that I didn't test. Okay, it doesn't work. So this WP snippets thing didn't work that well. But anyway, that's my thing would be I would go to a site like this, or Google what you want to do, and then put it in a plugin. You will get to know the functions that you use on a regular basis, the filters that you use on a regular basis. Any questions? I only have one more to do. Jerry, you want to do one more? Sure. Okay. All right. Well, that's. Can't ask for more. You're not walking out, and you're not booing me. So, so this is here's another useful one. I think somewhat useful. Let's get rid of this. This doesn't work. And I'm registering. I'm going to add a submenu. Oh, sorry. There we go. And just like widgets, this hook calls this function. This function is right here. This function calls another function called add submenu page. But it has to be triggered at the right time. If you just added add submenu page anywhere, you get an error. It has to be triggered at WP admin. And WP admin gets called. And this one is calling another function called WP setup PHP info. So I'm going to just kind of change it. So PHP comes with a function called PHP info. It gives, what does it do? It gives you information on the PHP setup. And a lot of times you need to know that. So I added it to the tools area right here, PHP info. But this is what happens to it. It kind of takes over the whole site. So, but this is the data. So this is good information to have, right? There are times you need to know this. You need to know what's being set up on your server, what's being turned on and turned off. The problem with the function PHP info is it actually creates a full HTML page here. So if you look at the source, I believe there are two body tags, which if anyone, so the body, here's the body tag for WordPress, and there's the body tag for PHP info. And anybody who knows any form of HTML knows there should only be one body tag. So that's why it looks really ugly. So I didn't know what to do. I Googled it, I looked around, and I found something that I thought was pretty cool and interesting. It was just a really easy snippet that used the regex to get rid of the body. So what it's doing is taking everything that's inside the body class, getting rid of the body tags, and just giving me everything that's inside the body class. And I put it here, and I called it clean PHP info. And I'm also using object buffering, which is a little bit advanced. This is PHP stuff. So a quick thing on object buffering. Essentially, lets you it takes whatever it lets you grab stuff. And in this case, I'm grabbing like HTML of PHP info, like the entire page. Like I'm grabbing that, and I'm putting it in something called PHP info. And then it's actually data that I can manipulate and do things with. And in this case, this is really complicated. I'm not going through this again. I literally searched for this and found it. But it's essentially saying anything that's in between the body tags, just give me that. And then add some other stuff here because WordPress has some classes to use. That's really all it's doing. And then what it does, it makes it a little bit nicer. A lot nicer. And now you have PHP info, you have a place to get it. Again, this information probably shouldn't be for just anyone, right? And it isn't, because add submenu, the add submenu function, takes a lot of parameters. Everything is separated by commas. One of them is a capability that can view the page. Manage option. Okay. So all this code is on GitHub. We can do one more really quick one, and then I think that'll be it. I know I said I had one more, but I really only have one more. Yeah, let's do something. This would have been great. Here, hold on. I'm going to install this FakerPress plugin real quick. And this thing has saved my butt on lots of presentations. The funny thing is, it's not the kind of plugin you like leave in. You install it, you activate it, you get what you want, and you get rid of it. do that. Yeah, there's lots of ways to do it. I like this. Works really well. So create some posts. I'm gonna create some posts, but I also want, more importantly, I want some images. So 6 to 10 to, I don't know, 15, generate. You're generating, you should be generating. Let's edit a post, and cool. I should have images now, so I'm going to set featured image, media library. Oh, it gave me images. So cool. So I'm setting the featured image here. So some themes, if you're writing custom themes, anyone here write their own theme? Any design stuff, right? Okay. So there's a lot of cool functions that you want to add to those themes. One of them is, it added a ton of posts too. So there's a really interesting, there's a bunch of functions. So besides the body class, which is right here, right? This is a filter, this is a function in WordPress. And the theme, WordPress itself, adds all these things to it. So it lets you target the page. So what you have to do is add the body class function. But there's also a post class function. And I think 27, let's see if this has it. 2017 single, okay, it's in template parts, post, content. There you go, post class, this function right here. And it's wrapped in the article div, so find that. There we go. So all this stuff is automatically generated by WordPress. So I just pointed right here, all from this function, post class. Okay? And I bet you if we look, this function has a hook that everything's just hooking to and shoving stuff into. So what I want to do, it probably already has, but we're going to do it anyway, just to show you. I'm adding a featured image. Let's add a featured image to this. And we're going to view this. Okay, so it did. It added a class called hasPostThumbnail. That was going to be my presentation, adding that. So I'm going to show you how we do it anyway. We can rename it, but you can add things. You can filter these classes, and you can add all sorts of information. Maybe you want to count the content. You want to put the author in there as well. You can do any of those things. So here, let's say, so you're filtering. We're going to filter the post class function. This is my function, I'm going to call it. And this is the function. And what this is saying is, I'm going to pass the classes to me because that's what WordPress has. If I don't pass it, I'm erasing all that data that WordPress has. Remember, I'm filtering, so I'm taking in all that stuff that WordPress already has, and I'm adding it. And if we have a thumbnail, I'm going to add to the classes array, and I'm going to say, has featured image. So now if we go here, wherever that was, article. So has post thumbnail is right here. This is the default one, and we added has featured image. So if you're writing a custom function, a custom theme, you may want that, right? Maybe you want to style something that has a featured image differently than you want to style things that don't. You can add all kinds of things to it. You can add the author to that as well, the author name, the user ID, the user capability. A lot of times I like to do that. I like to put the user role in the body class so that I can do things differently for administrators that I would do for editors. Okay? So this code is sitting at GitHub. You go to GitHub/Bruner, that's me, and then top repo here, and then you can just download this and play with it. Don't use this. I don't know if you want to use this plugin exactly the way it is, but play with it. Remove some stuff, add some more stuff to it. It should be a really good base for you to get started, to create a plugin that you just have to activate and walk away. And like I said, if you really wanted to, you could just drop this plugin into the WPMU folder, the MU plugin folder, and it would just work. You wouldn't have to activate. Any questions? Yeah.
One quick question, the one that you did with the footer,
Yeah.
the customized footer, I see that code in the plugin, but where you telling, I kind of missed where you're editing that to actually change, at the bottom of the page.
Okay. So it's a filter. WordPress has a filter called admin footer text. And the only thing that's an admin footer text, let's see what's in admin footer text. So the way to find out what's in that filter, well, that's not good, is to get a function, pass the variable to which we know, which you have to know what it is. You have to look it up. So here we go, and we'll use our helper function here. Go
You
here.
wanted to see where you changed the actual text? Is that
Yeah.
what you're asking? So where did you just change what it said?
Right here.
Okay.
Right here. Is that what you wanted to see? Because this is, am I going too far here? And if you look, this is what WordPress puts there. So that's the default text wrapped in a span tag. And I'm just doing string replace to do a search. I'm literally searching and replacing that string. That's all I'm doing.
And you're making that change, where are you actually doing the search?
Right here, string replace.
Is this the plugin file?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a standard PHP function, and what I'm doing is I'm saying search for this, replace it with all this, and look for it in this.
Okay, and then the support text.
That's this function right here that puts together that whole thing. I highly recommend, if you have a function that's like 20 lines long, see if you can break it out into another function. It just makes it, I think, this could be cleaner, but it's pretty clean to read, right? Like you can see what you have to do. If I shoved it in there, it would be a mess. And I'd rather have readability than, less lines. So yeah, and by adding it as a function, I was able to use it again in the dashboard widget without having to rewrite my code. So hand or no? Yeah.
Why did you choose, I have two questions, why did you choose Adam as an editor?
I was using PHP Storm, and it was really slow. Like, super slow. And it was driving me crazy. Adam, they came up with an IDE, and it was very fast. I started using it, and now it's getting a little slow. So I'm not sure what I'm going to use. But I actually disabled some of the IDE features for this presentation because they were driving me a little crazy.
What about, Windows?
The Sublime Text, a Windows?
VS Code.
VS Code, there you go. I don't have a Windows
That
distribution.
was pretty highly recommended.
Yeah, you can use that on Windows.
Any other question?
Yeah, and are you going to show us how to step through debug?
No. That's not part of this. But I do suggest, that's a really good point, is that you should be turning on, when you're writing a plugin, WP debug, and this is probably a good way to do it, is in your WP config file, or I'm setting it to true, I'm displaying it off, so it doesn't screw up my site, and I'm telling it to log it, and where it does, it creates a debug.log file in the WP content folder. And this is how I figured out before that I was not passing it because it showed me the thing. So if I erase this and then run it again, hopefully I'm going to have no errors or warning. And I don't. You want to clean the bug log. But I will say one thing. Be very careful about the bug log because it is public, which sucks. So be really careful when you're logging on a live site. Someone can see the errors on your site. So you want to get rid of that or protect it some other way. Yeah. You could, but this is different. Well, it's two different things. This is giving me PHP errors and throwing all that kind of stuff, throwing all that stuff at me. There's a ton of ways to debug. In fact, we have a video on our site about debug tools. I mean, there's a ton of X debug. There's a ton of debug tools. WordPress has WP debug. It works really well, and it gives you really great messages. All right, I think that's it.